Hey everybody, CVH here, and I just got done recording some games with this Goblin Assassin list you can see on screen. Just a little bit about the build. I was testing a couple cards that weren't in the previous version I played on the YouTube channel. Reflective Automaton, which I've heard many people say they've had success with in Goblins. Over the Gloom Lurkers that I was playing, each have their upsides, and the 2 copies of Daggerfall Mage. I wanted to include these over the Murkwater guides that I was testing from Clockwork City last time, just as a really solid, stable 3-drop that might be hard to deal with. Wasn't entirely sure whether or not these would perform in a large sample size over the 2 cards that were in there previously, but they are something to think about if you want to play this kind of deck. A lot of options in some of these flex spots, so to speak. But as I just got done playing the games, I'm actually recording this intro after already playing those games and after recording the first intro that I was going to use. You might be wondering why. Well, as you'll see, these games, which I played consecutively, they showcase one of the more debated aspects of Elder Scrolls Legends, which is the Ring of Magicka, as you might be able to tell from the title, depending on what I decide to title this video. And there have been changes proposed to the Ring of Magicka as long as I've been playing. It used to be a support, actually, called the Elixir of Magic. I bet you didn't know that, unless you did know that because you played as long as I have. But one of the changes that I've been a fan of, once I heard it, I've been a proponent of it, is not allowing the ring to be used on consecutive turns. So if I use the Ring of Magicka turn 1 to play a 2-cost card, I won't be able to use another charge of the Ring of Magicka on turn 2. So I'll still have my 3 charges that can be used throughout the stages of the game, but I'm not going to be able to ring on turn 1, ring on turn 2, and ring on turn 3. So that's just something to consider. Obviously, the games that you're about to see, the Ring of Magicka is utilized by this deck and does some pretty absurd things without trying to spoil too much, so I am legitimately curious to hear your guys' thoughts on the Ring of Magicka and any potential solutions for it. They did already test the ring at 2 charges, I believe, before closed beta even happened. It wasn't good enough. Obviously, you don't want the Hearthstone scenario where instead of wanting to go second with every curve-based deck, you just want to go first instead. Is there a good balance somewhere? Are we reaching it? Are we close to reaching it? But I encourage you to watch these games and understand that these are sort of the extreme high roll scenarios. This does not go like this every time you play a curve deck that gets the ring, but it does showcase not only goblins, but the Ring of Magicka as well. Anyway, hopefully you guys enjoy the games, and if you enjoy the video, feel free to leave a like and stay subscribed for more Legends content. Follow my stream in the description, and I'll see you next time. Well, I like this guy's name a lot, but I'm still gonna try to beat him. There's 1 card, we are shipping all 3, but we do have the ring. Ooh, wow. This is quite the opener, isn't it? I'm okay with this. Wow, and we have the Skirmisher too. Jeez. This is gonna be a hell of a first 3 turns, assuming he doesn't interact with it. No execute, no Barrow Stalker. Oh, he's tokens. Well, that's annoying in its own way. I do think tokens is pretty good against what I'm trying to do, but it's hard to complain with this hand. Oh man, he is not going to be happy next turn. That's insane. That is really insane. Like 4 goblins, 5 actually. If oh my god, that's like it's 10/10 of value plus. Come on, come on. Oh my god. Oh, that one's like almost too quick to put in the video. But if you're watching this, I decided to put it in anyway. We all know what could have happened next turn. What was that? We want to play a long game? Send in Blackfall with Control Mage. This one's, like, honestly not gonna last as long. Probably. It's sort of over in the first few turns whether or not I explode onto the board and he can't recover, or he stabilizes and then there's no hope. We do have more hope than a lot of the Goblin decks out there because we have the Lightning Bolts, the Incano, the Cliff Racers, and it looks like we have a pretty decent start. We have the Ring, again, and the Traitor. And Daggerfall Mage could actually be pretty hard to deal with in this matchup. I would say harder to deal with than a Murkwater Guide.
Of course I'm on your side.
An opening with Trader into Daggerfall might sort of hide what our deck is trying to do for at least a little bit, right? Unfortunately, the Skirmisher is not looking as good as the last one that we didn't even really get to play, but I think my opponent was putting the pieces together. Now, I would have definitely conceded to the Skirmisher, but he conceded even earlier. Okay, so I think we'll just attack over that and go for the House Kinsman.
Didn't see this coming, eh? They cannot hope to outwit me.
If he firebolts this Mournhold Trader, the cool thing is, unless he has an answer for Daggerfall, a whole Lightning Bolt has to be spent. And we can go for the Daggerfall and get the Tome of Alteration, which is going to give me a pretty decent play this turn if I wanted it. Nimble Ally's looking even better, though, honestly. I really like Nimble Ally because it protects against Hive Defender really well. It always trades favorably with that card. So, I mean, if you decided to save the Hive Defender, that's a really slow card in this matchup as well. Potentially 9 damage just on the board. We can add to that with Tome or Cliff Racer, whatever we want. Unfortunately, this would be a pretty great Skirmisher turn, even if I just had one Goblin that I could play from my hand, or an Automaton or something. Unfortunately, it's not meant to be. Now, what I'm thinking about doing is trading Cliff Racer, or trading the House Kinsman into the 3-1 here, just so I can play around Ice Storm a little bit more effectively, so he can't trade in and Storm. I do miss potentially a little bit of damage with this Kinsman, but I think it might be worth it. But honestly, I have the Reach in my hand. I don't know if I need to be that scared. And Ice Storm will full clear his board as well, so I think I'm just going to go in. No fear. Just damage. Getting that 3 damage from the attack as well as 3 damage from the effect. Okay. Good time to not hit a Prophecy. Overdrawing the Dawn's Wrath. Oh yeah, obviously Blackfall has fully premium Control Mage because he's the Control Mage guy, pretty much.
Fight is done.
And this is one of those games that we were hoping it would be, where we explode onto the board and he doesn't have a good answer. You know, the craziest thing about that game is we played no Goblin-specific cards. He probably isn't even sure what he lost to. Or he thought I just drew insanely well with Mid-Range Assassin. And that is reasonable. Can our Sorcerer opponent stand up to the Goblins, or will he too fall? I don't know, I keep getting the ring, so it's not looking good for him already. And I'm kind of just liking this hand. I think I will keep it. In this case, I will save the Goblin for the next turn, the Murkwater Savage, because it will prevent the Murkwater Savage from being fireboltable.
This day will be mine.
Even if this first Goblin Skulk got firebolted. Which it did not. Not a bad thing. Let's stay far away from that thing, how about that? No small amount of damage has been developed.
By the 8th, they will meet their makers.
So I do want to grow this 4/4 into a 5/5 before I break a rune. Turning myself a little bit with the lightning bolts. He could still take care of it though. And I think I'm going to play this right, because if I don't, he can trade into this, get the Tome of Alteration from the Daggerfall, and trade up with the 4/4. And no prophecies were hit. It's a good turn for the aggro deck.
The ambition of the Telvanni knows no bounds.
Telvanni Arcanist and Daggerfall Mage. Maybe he's going for a control approach? I've seen a bit of those recently. At this point, I think I would like a draw. Might as well try to squeeze some value out of this, or some damage out of this rather. We're not really playing for value, we're playing for damage. And we are dealing a good amount of it. But we can play Kinsman super late into the game, and it'll almost always get that 3 damage from the last gasp at least. My opponent would have to have a silence to stop that from happening. And this card isn't always guaranteed to deal that damage. I mean, nothing's really guaranteed, but it's much more likely Kinsman deals 3 damage even if it can never attack. This one needs to attack to deal damage, so you ideally want to play it first. It's also harder to deal with, you know, it's a 4-4 instead of a 3-2. My opponent is overdrawing the tome. These last few games have felt really one-sided. I would also like to show this deck losing, but if it doesn't want to lose, there's only so much I can do. I'll play all night until I finally lose. But in reality, this deck loses to exactly the kind of things you'd expect. Just really efficient early game removal. For example, if Blackfall queues against us again, and he happens to have Lightning Bolt, Shrieking Harpy, Wordcrafter into a timely Ice Storm, and then he can heal a little bit out of range, probably very unfavored to win. We'll just have to see if we can open as good as last time. He full shipped really quickly, he doesn't have the ring, we have a 4-4 on turn 1 and turn 2. I don't think we keep Automaton unless it's like our only play, even then. Guess I just throw out the Goblin too.
Of course I'm on your side.
Like a timely prophecy, first or second rune, removal for the trader. He has no idea. Well, let's see if we hit a prophecy. That is his out here.
Of course I'm on your side.
He did not hit it. For what it's worth, Blackfall's really, really good at Control Mage. But I'm really, really good at getting the ring tonight. Classic CVH luck right there. He's gonna get a prophecy. It's gonna happen. Alright, so I actually don't have a great play this turn for what it's worth. Like, that's a big deal. I'm trying to think if my attack order matters too much here. I think I go with that, and then the 2.
See this coming, eh?
Oh, well, yeah.
Didn't see this coming, eh?
How is he not getting a prophecy here? My goodness. What in the world? I mean, I already have one of those useless things in that lane, so there's that. At this point, there's only a few things I could be holding. I would have played pretty much anything in my deck, barring Cliff Racer and Kano Tazcad, and if I want to hold Lightning Bolt, which I am. So we do have 16 damage over a couple turns. I maybe should have considered just firing off a Lightning Bolt, but if I hit Prophecy Knight of the Hour, it just really sucks for me and sets me really far behind. But, I mean, that doesn't contest this, so I think I'm just going to trade this in. If I had Skirmisher, obviously it'd be a lot better in pretty much every situation. Just smack 4 and 4.
Didn't see this coming, eh?
Yeah, I think I split the lanes because if he removes that, then he'll have a dinky little 2-1 guard that he just kind of had to protect against the Cliff Racer. And with only 5 Magicka, like, he literally just needed a Prophecy. That's really the situation here. Because that has to go in the same lane, of course, as the Trader was in. So yeah, I mean, even if he dealt with them both eventually, then I would just have 2 turns of Lightning Bolts. I mean, you can't really blame him for being a little salty there, right?